Hello and welcome back to Aetheral Space 9.44, the hushed lips of a new era. We are back.
Yes, and we are... I have nothing to say. Fuck it. Let's just do it. Go, Tan, go.
Oh, dead boy. Loop slash...
Hold on. That's not your Pan voice.
Oh, dead boy. Loop slash
There we
repeat
go.
slash again. And loop slash repeat slash again. Dead boy, why do you do this to you? Transmission recovered from the P Network by the Pandershi Foundation. Partial translation.
It's the Pandershi Foundation, like the government that built around Pan.
We don't know.
The P Network, the
We've
Pan
only
Network.
got one bit of information from them previously. It was a very similar format, but it was much less translated.
That's right. Well, I'm curious now. It's true. Dragon does love to be taken to death's door, or death itself, and then come back.
He loves it.
Do you understand, the chorister said softly, plucking Dragon's crushed eyeball from its socket, that there is a substantial difference between being prepared to kill and being prepared to die? In that moment, Dragon's world was nothing but pain. The operating table beneath him was made of a knife's cold stab. The air above him was sculpted from cruel fire. The lights surrounding him were the pinpricks of violent migraines made physical. His body was broken, his mind just barely sputtering along. But even so, he was in no state to reply to the chorister's question. If the chorister was bothered by Dragon's silence, save for groans of pain, he didn't show it. When I saved you, I asked you if you were willing to kill, and you said yes, in your own way. That was an encouraging answer, but perhaps not the correct one. Any thug with a pistol can be willing to kill. Do you think they'd be willing to give their life for a cause? The chorister scooped a chunk of orange panacea out of a vat with a small metal utensil, carefully lowering it into Dragon's now empty socket. No, that's the bad panacea, isn't it?
No, red was bad. Orange is normal.
Oh. His vision exploded into chaotic lights as a new eyeball began to establish itself. He should have a fucked up eye after this. This is your opportunity to give your OC heterochromia. Just so you know. So, I hope you take advantage of it. Darkness, brightness, flickering colors, Pan's face. Dragon saw all these things in a moment. Again, dead boy? Pan whispered, sounding terribly sad. You should look after yourself, okay? She blinked out of existence, replaced by the calm visage of the chorister as he applied more panacea to Dragon's stumps. Infantile arms began to wind their way free from the wounds, doubling and reabsorbing themselves as they went. The key to an effective warrior, I found, the chorister said, watching the progress of the healing, is a willingness to die and to kill in equal measure. The former is just a matter for the noose, while the latter is mere bravado. Together, though, that's something truly special. Dragon's new eye flicked over to the table in the corner of the room. On it was a jar of reddened water, and in that, the unmistakable forms of several snapped-off ribs had collected at the bottom. My question is, panacea can't replace blood loss, right? Because it just does organs.
Yeah, usually.
So how... Is he getting, blood transfers right now? Is the chorister his blood type?
Maybe... Well, this is a medical room. Maybe he has some in stock.
Yeah, or is blood more available in the Aetheral Space future? Do they still use gene shit to, have a surplus of blood of all types?
Well, there may be sort of an ancestral, because all the gene modification, it may have been convenient for the gene tyrants to make a more common sort of blood type system.
That's interesting. That would have been a very benevolent thing for the gene tyrants.
It's also
maybe
convenient.
maybe the Hellenism of their time. A lot of people agree Rome was fucked up and had problems, but bringing all those cultures together with a common language, doing that with everyone's got a blood type, so it's a lot easier to do medical care. That's interesting. Sorry. Dragon's new eye flicked over to the table of the room. Oh, sorry, I read that. The chorister followed his gaze, chuckling to himself. Internal healing is a tricky thing when it comes to panacea. If I wanted you back in fighting shape quickly, I had no choice but to remove the damaged parts entirely and have the fungi replace them. Otherwise, we'd have had to wait days for the stimulants to prompt natural regeneration. The pain subsided for just a brief moment, and Dragon took the opportunity to speak. Broken, hoarse words, but words all the same. Why did you save me? The chorister continued to apply panacea to Dragon's regrowing arms, prompting their growth more and more. Can chorister be alone, or does it have to be the chorister like it was before?
That should be the chorister, yeah. That's not his
I have
name.
a deal with you. You're good. I have a deal with your captain, he said lightly, leaning over the spreading flesh. Your dying would jeopardize that. Not to mention you yourself will also be useful to me. How? How'd I save you? The chorister frowned, standing up. A quiet choir is an old and noble institution. We have networks of secret chambers like this spread throughout most Superbian vessels. It's not difficult for me to get somewhere, no matter where it might be. Dragon shook his head slowly, ignoring the screaming agony from his temple as he did. How am I useful? Ah, I need Giovanni Sigma Testament dead, you see. Despite the final results, you showed some promise in that last bout. I'd like for you to kill him for me. It's a matter of my survival and your skipper's plan. Dragon narrowed his eyes, feeling returning to his body with every new movement. Don't you think you could manage it? The arms completed, numb appendages hanging off of Dragon's torso, color slowly spreading across them as blood flowed through new passageways. Phantom pain began to fade into a bad memory. I'm confident in my own abilities, the chorister said. He stepped over to the wall and retrieved a sterile wipe from a module there, clearing his hands of the blood and mushrooms. But I'm a little bit of a bastard, you see. I'd very much like to be the Superbian Apex Bishop when this all clears up, and as such I can't be the one to murder the previous one. Best if a random maniac like yourself does the dirty work. He opens up a medical kit from the same wall and retrieves a generous selection of painkillers and stimulants, lining them up on the table next to Dragon. I will say it should be retrieves because you have present tense.
No.
Well, you say lining them up, but then it's opened and retrieved.
No, that works.
I think you might be right. Maybe I'm crazy. I might just be too tired.
He's crazy. We're taking you to an asylum. You're out of your mind.
Maybe, yeah. I'm rereading it. Your body may be whole again, he said, but physically you're in no state to go running around after your enemies. These things will have you forget that for a little while. Dragon, with an effort that would have been impossible mere minutes ago, slowly picked himself up off the operating table, sitting sideways there. His new arms hung limp at his sides, still disobedient, but the new eye had already fit in perfectly. He glared coldly at the chorister. All the stuff you're talking about, is it part of Skipper's plan, too? Yes, the chorister said truthfully. Thus far, everything has gone his way. I'd be careful of that one, Mr. Hadrian. The chorister's smile vanished. He's the sort that can turn his heart to ice. Skipper took a seat on the head of an ant, only to fall right down on his ass when the body dissipated into aether. He frowned up at the two automatics accompanying him. Man, he sighed. That was over way too fast. The enemy had multiplied and gotten stronger the more of them he'd killed, so in the end the solution had been obvious. Kill them all at the exact same time. The amphitheater had been utterly ruined by the barrage of heartbeat shotguns necessary for that, but in the end it had been pretty effective. All around them, the rivers of black blood and the ruined chunks of carcass disappeared as well, until he and the two automatics were alone among the rubble. You won't... How robotic should these sound?
Not very robotic.
What voice should I do?
They're just like guys.
You won't go after her? Said the first humanoid automatic, controlled by Hamashtiel. That girl is part of your crew, isn't he?
Maybe not like that.
So fucking...
Just like a... Well, he's not a new character, he's just like a calm, normal guy.
Hamashtiel?
Yeah.
I need more calm, normal guy voices. All mine are the same right now. My apologies. You won't go after her? Said the first humanoid automatic, controlled by Hamashtiel. That girl is part of your crew, isn't she? Ruth, Skipper said. Skipper asked. You won't go after her asked. No, I'm kidding. Said works too. I'm just being anal. She knows what she's doing. She'll take care of the big guy. I've got complete faith. The other automatic, piloted by a Paradisus woman named Glendon Stout, cocked its head. What will you do then? Sit here? Don't worry, Skipper chuckled, picking himself up off the ground and brushing the dust from his legs. I've got a busy itinerary myself, yeah? He looked past the two automatics to the prone body on the floor. Somehow, among all of that chaos, the body of Isabel Pye Testament had gone mostly unharmed. She was covered in cuts and scratches, but the steady rising and lowering of her chest was unmistakably alive. Skipper scratched his nose. "And it keeps getting busier all the time. I would think." Glendenstad followed his gaze. "Isabel Pye Testament, the woman who originally sent out the leak. What's wrong with her?" Skipper frowned. "Hard to say." Her eyes were open, unblinking, staring at the ceiling. "Lights are on, but it looks like nobody's home. I know the feeling." Indeed, he did. The time he'd spent with the Vantablack squad was mostly a blur, brief periods of lucidity accompanied by bloodshed. But he remembered one thing, if nothing else. The terrible sensation of having parts of you be blank that once were not. Like you'd been scrubbed clean of yourself. "Lady Robot," Skipper addressed Glendenstad. "Get her somewhere safe, yeah? I get the feeling she'll be an important blank base to have in her hand." It should be get her somewhere safe, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got it. "You mean card?" Hamastiel said. "You wouldn't hold a piece in your hand like that." "Whatever." Glendenstad shook her head in disdain, but walked over to the body all the same, slinging it over her shoulder as though it weighed nothing at all. These new model automatics the Paradisus had really were something. Skipper already knew they'd be invaluable on Elysian fields. Is this like when an enemy in an anime is like a monster, and then when it like joins the good side, it becomes like a hot monster girl?
Interesting.
Is that what happened here? Are they like hot robots now instead of blocky orbs?
Well, these are just a new kind of robot. There's many different kinds.
I just assumed they were hot by default.
I never
My
described
brain's
them as
poisoned.
hot.
Yeah, I was just
said
like,
they were
robots? That's
humanoid, you
hot.
were like, oh, sexy.
Ah, fuck yeah.
2 arms, 2 legs. Good enough for me.
Dragon when he loses his arm. Check, please. Glenn the Stout shook her head in disdain, but walked over to the body all the same. Oh, blah, blah, blah. The mechanical woman looked back at him, her face a blank expanse. "What will you do then, blackmailer?" Skipper cracked his neck. "Me!" A grin slowly spread across his face. "I'm headed down below." In every aspect of the words, he was sure. Oh man, this guy said he's going to go to hell. Popcorn for the rest of it.
In the dark tunnels of the Deus Nobiscum, Bruno and Serena danced with a monster from a fever dream. Each limb that flew off from the touch of an invisible blade soon grew back, but exhaustion was still hours away from them. They could keep swinging thin air for as long as it took. In the elegant and decadent hallways of the Deus Nobiscum, Ruth chased after the slavering insect that shredded the world around it. Giant twisted ants were summoned to block her path, but with the momentum she had bought herself, their lifespans were measured in mere seconds. Before long, she would catch up with her prey. And on the bridge of the Deus Nobiscum, tap, tap, tap. Giovanni Sigma Testament turned to look over his shoulder as he heard the unmistakable sound of approaching footsteps. He raised his black eyebrows, much less surprised than he should have been, as he saw the figure emerging from the darkness. Dragon Hadrian. His clothes were still stained with his...
Oh my god, Giovanni has a reason to live again.
Well, he was already like suicidal before that, so...
No, I know. I'm saying he has a reason to live again. His rival's back.
Okay. His clothes...
Am I lost? What's happening?
Well, he's already like in the middle of like suicidal thing when Dragon showed up the first time.
Was he? I thought Dragon was like... Remember, because he was like, "Get up, Dragon, keep fighting," and then he was sad.
Like, Dragon was like the suicide method there.
Oh, he was like, "You were supposed to kill me, Dragon Hadrian." Bloody tear.
Dragon Hadrian. His clothes were still stained with his own blood, but no external injuries were visible. There was the slightest discrepancy in the shade of the skin on his arms, though, a telltale sign of panacea usage. Giovanni frowned. There was only one possible conclusion. Someone had rescued Hadrian, someone who knew the ship well enough to find their way to such an out-of-the-way crevice. A traitor. Well, traitors burned like everything else. All Giovanni had to do at this point was make sure the bonfire was lit.
Oh, fire linker? Ashen one?
We need to link the flame, Dragon. He turned away from the console and, with a flick of his wrist, reabsorbed his replica. In an unexpected situation like this, he wanted all of his Aether at his disposal. He narrowed his eyes, keeping careful watch on Hadrian's form. "I'm surprised you survived," he said. "And what's more, that you showed your face so readily..." Gemini shotgun. Bombardment is the only word fit to describe.
I love the way you delivered it. Gemini shotgun. Deadpan.
Bombardment was the only word fit to describe what happened next. Dragon Hadrian must have gathered up every piece of debris and ammunition he could find on the way up here, steeled himself, and released it. Second verse. Giovanni summoned his shield around himself immediately, the red tint impeding his view of the destruction outside, but the tiny blurs rushing past told him all he needed to know. The attack went on agonisingly long, 30 seconds at least, as if Giovanni had been teleported into a war zone. But then, finally, it began to slow and cease. However, right before the attack truly ended, something unbelievable happened. The shield cracked. As the smoke and dust cleared, Giovanni stared uncomprehendingly at a tiny fragment of spiderweb that had appeared on his shield. It was just the smallest, feeblest sign of damage, but damage all the same. Not so long ago, this level of attack had been impossible for Dragon Hadrian. The increase in power meant only one thing. Right now, right here, he was in true synchronization with his core.
Did we get our first shonen power up? When characters start fighting strong, we're going to reach a level where everyone's in true synchronization with their cores. It's like the new differentiator between jobbers.
Dragon wouldn't speak to this man anymore. He wouldn't stall himself with useless sentimentality, and he wouldn't entertain his own distractions. He wouldn't let anything in the world influence him and accept himself. The only one who decided what happened to him was him. His Aether reached a Borealis.
Is Dragon kind of like a stoic here, or is he like a nihilist, or like the idea that he only wants his own actions to affect the world around him? Like, what is that, existentialism?
Whatever it is, it's his Aether core.
It's his Aether core. This guy just got his power up. You can right now he's doing that thing where like his eyes are shaded as he walks forward, and like there's like steam coming off his body. And Giovanni's doing that thing where, like, for the first time in the series, he looks slightly worried as the villain, and his like eyebrows twitching, and he's like, "It can't be. Did he achieve that state? True synchronization with his Aether core?" So tell us. Here's my fun fact question. Tell us about synchronization. Is it like an on or / off switch, or is it like a percentage rule where it's like I'm 70% synchronized with my Aether right now?
Yeah, it's basically how close you are to your Aether core, basically.
So is it like percentage, or is it more vague than that? Okay.
Well, it's not really measuring percentage. It's more of a vague thing. It's a state of mind.
Okay. Interesting. Anything else you want to share for fun facts, or shall we call it?
I think we should call it there.
All right. Well, thank you for writing that, Tan. Very cool. Our first Shonen Power Up, boys. And we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.